A number of analysts come out in cable, sterling versus the dollar, and say actually, ultimately, it's going to be down at 120. You've just talked about a positive case about the European situation, and yet when we come out of the weekend and the positive French election result, actually it seems to be US yields that matter more for the euro. So tie the three things together.
There's at least three things going on. So like in forecasting cable, like the dollar UK rate, I always forecast the euro dollar rate and then have a euro sterling on top of it. That's how I do it. So I think you have something positive going on in terms of political risk in the eurozone, really for the first time in many years. Like we always used to talk about downside risk. And then on the UK front, we have tremendous political uncertainty, but we can never forget about US monetary policy, as we saw very, very clearly today. Forget about that, there's a risk factor that really drives a lot. And I think the one thing you want to keep in mind on that front is that we had the whole optimism after the US election. We had a huge shift in the yield curve. And now we've really come down to a level where essentially the whole election dynamic has been unwound. So now it actually matters again what the Fed really says, like whether they're going to go 1 or 2 or 3 times next year is a really big deal. And we had only one hike price for next year before Dudley spoke. And that's why these somewhat hawkish comments could actually move the market a fair bit.
Yeah, and for sterling, going back to Brexit for a moment, which is the more important dynamic? The outcome of the Brexit talks or the stability of the UK as it gets to the Brexit talks? In other words, the destination or just whether the car seems rickety on that path?
Well, so those two things might be very correlated. Like if they have a weak negotiating position, it might be very difficult for them to get a good deal, and it might end up not getting a deal at all, so we have this hard Brexit. So I think those two things are correlated. We did a lot of analysis, crunching numbers over the last couple of days, right? And if you look at euro sterling over the last year or so, it really is like almost like an emerging market currency. Like most of the volatility is from political events. It's pretty extraordinary.